The world holds its breath. A story from Beijing. Hello, English learners, and welcome to the Slow English Podcast. Today, we're going to tell a story that had the whole world watching. Imagine two powerful leaders from two of the biggest countries meeting in a place full of history and tradition. What do you think they talked about? What could make the world hold its breath? Let's find out. Our story begins in Beijing, the capital city of China, on May 14, 2026. The air was filled with excitement and a little bit of tension. Why? Because the President of the United States, Donald Trump, was arriving for a very important meeting, a summit with China's President, Xi Jinping. A summit is like a very important meeting between leaders of different countries. It's not just a friendly chat. It's about serious topics that affect millions of people. President Trump's arrival was a grand event. Imagine a long red carpet, soldiers standing perfectly still, and music playing loudly. This kind of big welcome is called pomp. It means a lot of ceremony and show. It's a way to show respect, but also to show power. President Xi was there to greet him, and the two leaders shook hands. Everyone was watching their faces, trying to understand what they were thinking. This meeting was high stakes, meaning it involved serious risks and important decisions. Did you notice the word pomp? It's a great word to describe a very formal and impressive public event. Think of a royal wedding or a big parade. They often have a lot of pomp. And high stakes? That means the situation is very important, and the results could be very good or very bad. Like a big game where the winner gets a championship. Have you ever been to a very formal event with a lot of pomp? What was it like? Share your thoughts in your mind as we continue our story. After the grand welcome, the two presidents went to a very special place. The Temple of Heaven. This is an ancient and beautiful place in Beijing, where Chinese emperors used to pray for good harvests and peace. It's a symbol of harmony and a connection to something bigger than ourselves. Walking through such a historic place together sent a strong message to the world. It showed that even with big differences, there was a hope for understanding. As they walked, reporters tried to ask questions. One reporter asked President Trump about Taiwan. Taiwan is a sensitive topic between the US and China. But President Trump didn't answer directly. He just looked around and said, "China is beautiful." This moment showed the diplomacy at play, the careful way countries manage their relationships. Sometimes what is not said is as important as what is said. Diplomacy is a key word here. It's the art of managing international relations, often trying to avoid conflict and find peaceful solutions. Think of a diplomat as someone who is very skilled at talking to people from different cultures and find common ground. So far, we've seen President Trump arrive in Beijing with great pomp, and then visit the historic Temple of Heaven with President Xi. The atmosphere was formal, and there were hints of the serious discussions to come. Later that evening, a magnificent banquet was held at the Great Hall of the People. A banquet is a large, formal meal, often for many guests. Imagine a huge room, beautifully decorated, with delicious food and important people talking. The menu was interesting, a mix of Chinese and Western dishes. There was Kung Pao chicken, a famous Chinese dish, but also steak, which is very popular in America. They even had Chinese white wine. This mix of food was a symbol of the two cultures meeting. During the banquet, President Xi gave a speech and President Trump also spoke. They toasted each other, which means they raised their glasses to wish each other well. But even with the smiles and the toasts, everyone knew that serious talks were happening behind the scenes. The tension was still there, that feeling of nervousness or worry because of the difficult issues they faced. Banquet is a wonderful word for a big, fancy dinner. And tension, that's the feeling you get when you know something important or difficult is happening, and you're not sure what the outcome will be. It's like before a big exam or a sports final. What do you think were the most difficult topics they discussed? And did they find any solutions? We'll explore that next. The next day, the real work began. President Trump and President Xi sat down for their official talks. The main topics were trade, technology, and Iran. But the most sensitive issue, the one that caused the most clash, was Taiwan. President Xi warned President Trump that differences over Taiwan could lead to a serious conflict. A clash means a strong disagreement or a fight, Both leaders wanted to find common ground, but it was not easy. There were no big breakthroughs announced immediately. A breakthrough is a sudden, important discovery or development that helps to solve a problem. Sometimes diplomacy is a slow process, and small steps are more common than big breakthroughs. The world watched closely, hoping for peace and cooperation. Clash is a strong word for conflict or disagreement, and breakthrough is a positive word, meaning a moment when a big problem is solved or a new understanding is reached. Think of scientists working on a cure for a disease. A breakthrough would be a huge step forward. Why do you think it's so difficult for leaders of different countries to agree on everything? What makes international relations so complex? While the Trump-Xi summit was the biggest news, other important things were happening around the world. In Ukraine, there were reports of overnight strikes in Kiev, including residential buildings. This reminds us that even as some leaders talk about peace, conflicts continue elsewhere. Also, the world is preparing for the 2026 World Cup final, which will be held in New York and New Jersey. This is a very different kind of international event, bringing people together through sport. We also hear about ongoing global challenges like the opioid crisis and issues with unruly tourists at famous landmarks. These are problems that many countries face, and they show us that the world is a complex place, full of both big political events and everyday challenges. Ongoing means continuing to happen. The opioid crisis is a serious public health problem related to drug use. And unruly means difficult to control or badly behaved. So, unruly tourists are people who don't follow rules or behave well when they travel. We've covered the high-stakes summit between President Trump and President Xi, discussing pomp, diplomacy, banquets, and potential clashes. We also touched on other global events, reminding us of the diverse challenges and celebrations happening worldwide. And that brings us to the end of our story for today. We hope you enjoyed learning about these important global events and picked up some new English words along the way. If you enjoy learning English slowly, through interesting stories like this, please consider subscribing to the Slow English podcast. It helps us reach more learners like you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.